The mockery. The HMS Defiance drifted into the docking bay of the Stellar Assembly Station, like a rusty nail floating in a sea of diamonds. Captain James Walker stood on the bridge, his weathered hands clasped behind his back, watching the sleek alien vessels glide past his viewport. Their ships sparkled with energy fields and hummed with advanced propulsion systems that made his own vessel look like something dragged from a scrapyard. "Captain, we're receiving docking instructions," Lieutenant Emma Rodriguez announced from her communications station. She was young, barely 28, but her voice carried the steady confidence of someone twice her age. "They're putting us in the auxiliary maintenance bay," Walker smiled grimly. Of course they were. The main docking areas were reserved for proper warships, not the cobbled-together mess that humanity called its finest military vessel. The Defiance was 450 meters of welded steel plates, exposed conduits, and jury-rigged systems that looked more like an industrial accident than a spaceship. "Take us in, Lieutenant Chen," Walker ordered his pilot. The man's fingers danced across manual controls that other species had abandoned millennia ago. No neural interfaces, no quantum navigation, just good old-fashioned stick and rudder flying. The Stellar Assembly Hall was a testament to galactic civilization. Its crystalline dome stretched 3 kilometers across, filled with representatives from 72 spacefaring species. As Walker entered with his small delegation, conversation stopped. Hundreds of alien eyes, compound and singular, stalked and glowing, turned to stare at the humans in their simple gray uniforms. The Etherians floated past on columns of living light, their forms shifting between solid and energy. The Krillians stood 9 feet tall, their exoskeletons gleaming with integrated technology that made them walking weapons platforms. The Vorthan delegates moved in perfect synchronization, their hive mind controlling 12 bodies as one entity. And then there were the humans, 5 of them, looking remarkably unremarkable. Supreme Coordinator Zixa Theta called the assembly to order. The being was a Celestian, a species that had achieved pure energy consciousness housed in crystalline matrices. Its voice resonated directly in everyone's minds, bypassing the need for translation. "We acknowledge humanity's petition for membership in the Galactic Confederacy," Zix Theta announced. "As per protocol, present your military capabilities for assessment." Walker stepped forward and activated a holographic projector. It was a bulky device that he had to carry by hand, unlike the thought-activated displays the other species used. The image flickered to life, showing the Defiance in all its ungainly glory. Laughter rippled through the assembly. Not cruel laughter, but the kind reserved for children showing off a crayon drawing in an art museum. "This is your warship?" asked Ambassador Kelleran of the Synthesis Empire. His species had achieved perfect fusion between organic and artificial intelligence. "It appears to be held together with—" "Is that adhesive bonding tape?" "Industrial-grade hull patches," Walker corrected calmly. "Very reliable." More laughter. Someone in the back made a comment about museum pieces. "Your weapon systems?" Zix Theta inquired, though its tone suggested it already knew the answer would be disappointing. "Kinetic railguns, missile tubes with chemical warheads, and point defense autocannons," Walker listed. Each item drew more incredulous reactions from the assembly. "No plasma arrays? No quantum torpedoes? No singularity weapons?" The questions came from multiple delegates. "No, sir, ma'am. Entity," Walker replied, unsure of the proper pronouns for a collective consciousness. The Krillian military attaché, Commander Vraktor, stood. His voice was like grinding metal. "Your defensive capabilities must compensate. Surely you have dimensional shields, probability dampeners, at minimum energy barriers? We have armor plating, 3 meters thick in critical areas, composite materials with ablative properties," Walker said. The silence that followed was deafening. Even species without ears seemed to be straining to hear if he was joking. "Your ship's artificial intelligence must be extraordinarily advanced to manage such primitive systems effectively," suggested a Vorthon node. "We don't have an AI," Walker said simply. Chaos erupted. Delegates stood, sat, or performed whatever their species' equivalent of shock was. The crystalline walls of the chamber flashed through a spectrum of colors reflecting the emotional upheaval. "How do you navigate hyperspace?" someone called out. "Mathematical calculations performed by our navigation team," Walker answered. "Combat targeting? Weapons officers using predictive algorithms they calculate in real time. System management? Engineers monitoring and adjusting manually. Zixatheta raised what might have been an appendage for silence. Captain Walker, you must understand. Modern space combat occurs in nanoseconds. Battles are won or lost before organic minds can even process that an engagement has begun. Your vessel would be destroyed before your crew knew they were under attack. Walker nodded. That's what everyone keeps telling us. The assessment was swift and merciless. The Confederacy's tactical AI, a collective intelligence spanning 12 star systems, analyzed the Defiance in moments. Its verdict was unanimous. The human vessel was approximately 5,000 years behind current military technology. Survival probability in actual combat, 0.03%. However, Zixatheta continued, humanity has achieved faster than light travel independently, meeting our primary criterion for membership. You are accepted into the Confederacy. Walker felt his crew relax slightly behind him. With restrictions, Zixatheta added, for your own protection, human vessels will be limited to Sectors 7 through 12. These are peaceful areas, trade routes through settled safe space. You will not be permitted in contested zones or frontier regions where you might encounter hostility. They were being given the kiddie pool. Walker kept his expression neutral as he accepted the terms. As the assembly dispersed, various delegates approached the human delegation. Some offered condescending sympathy. Others suggested humanity could purchase proper warships from their shipyards, with reasonable payment plans stretching only 3 or 4 centuries. Ambassador Kaloran was particularly persistent. Captain, I mean no offense, but your vessel is a death trap. My people would be happy to provide you with a basic AI core. It's somewhat outdated, only 1,000 years old, but infinitely superior to organic calculation. We'll manage, Walker said politely. Back aboard the Defiance, Walker gathered his senior staff in the briefing room. The metal chairs creaked and the fluorescent lights flickered occasionally, but it was home. They think we're a joke, Chief Engineer Marcus Thompson said bluntly. He was a mountain of a man who'd spent 30 years keeping machines running with nothing but determination and duct tape. They're not wrong about the technology gap, admitted Dr. Sarah Kim, the ship's science officer. Their capabilities are genuinely superior in every measurable way. Every measurable way, repeated Commander Diego Reeves, Walker's executive officer. That's the key word, isn't it? Measurable. Walker nodded slowly. They've been fighting each other with the same technology for millennia. Every advancement immediately copied, every strategy instantly analyzed by AI. They've optimized themselves into a very specific box. And we're outside that box, Rodriguez added. Beginning to understand. We're so far outside their box. They can't even see us properly, Walker confirmed. They see primitive technology and assume primitive capability. They don't understand that humans have been finding ways to kill each other efficiently since we came down from the trees. We just do it differently. Thompson leaned back in his chair, making it groan dangerously. So what's the plan, Captain? Walker smiled. It was the kind of smile that would have worried the Confederacy greatly if they'd seen it. We patrol our safe sectors like good little newcomers. We be professional, courteous, and completely harmless. Until, Dr. Kim prompted. Until someone decides the primitive humans and their junk ship are easy prey. And trust me, someone will. Pirates, raiders, maybe even one of the Confederacy species looking to secretly test us. When that happens, we'll teach them something they've forgotten. What's that? Rodriguez asked. Walker stood and moved to the viewport, looking out at the stars. That humanity didn't crawl out of the gravity well of a death world by being weak. We did it by being too stubborn to know when we were supposed to lose. They've forgotten what it means to fight without a net, without perfect information, without an AI making every decision. They've forgotten what desperation and creativity can accomplish. Besides, Thompson added with a grin, they clearly never learned the most important rule of combat. Everyone looked at him expectantly. Never underestimate the power of a really big hammer applied with sufficient creativity. The Reckoning. 3 weeks into their patrol of Sector 9, the HMS Defiance picked up a distress signal. It was faint, barely registering on their primitive sensors that the Confederacy had mocked. But unlike the sophisticated AI-filtered systems of other species, human sensors still detected everything, leaving it to human judgment to determine what was important. Captain, I'm reading a Vorten transport under attack, Rodriguez reported. 3 unknown vessels, configuration doesn't match any Confederacy design. Walker studied the tactical display. Distance? 40 million kilometers. At maximum burn, we could be there in 6 hours, Chen replied. 6 hours? Reeves shook his head. They'll be space dust in 6 minutes. Walker was quiet for a moment, studying the data. Maybe not. Kim, what do you make of these energy signatures? Dr. Kim analyzed the readings. The attackers are using standard disruption fields to disable the transport's AI. It's a common pirate tactic. Overwhelm the artificial intelligence with garbage data, then board while the ship is helpless. And a Vorthen ship would be especially vulnerable, Walker mused. Their entire crew consciousness runs through their ship's AI. Disable that, and you disable the crew, Reeves finished. Walker made his decision. Battle stations. Chen, maximum burn. Thompson, I want every weapon system online. Rodriguez, open a channel to those pirates. The crew looked at him in surprise. Sir? Rodriguez questioned. Do it. The communication system crackled to life. Walker keyed the transmit button. Attention unidentified vessels. This is Captain Walker of the HMS Defiance. You are engaged in illegal activities in Confederacy space. Withdraw immediately. For a moment there was silence. Then laughter filled the bridge. Harsh, electronic laughter. Is this a joke? The voice was translated but clearly contemptuous. The primitive humans? In their scrap metal ship? Run along, apes. This doesn't concern you. Walker's expression didn't change. Rodriguez, mark their positions. Chen, adjust course. We're going in. Captain, Reeves said quietly. We're outnumbered 3-1. Their technology is designed to fight other advanced technology. Walker interrupted. Let's see how they handle something different. The Defiance accelerated, its chemical engines roaring to life in a way that would have seemed quaint to other species. But those same species had forgotten something important. Chemical reactions were immediate, violent, and absolutely immune to electronic interference. As they approached engagement range, the pirate vessels turned to face them. Walker could imagine their confusion. Why wasn't the human ship slowing? Where were its energy signatures? Why couldn't their AI predict its attack patterns? They're charging weapons, Kim announced. Plasma cannons. Looks like Krillian design but modified. Evasive maneuvers, Walker ordered. Chen's hands flew across his controls. The Defiance lurched, rolled, and spun in ways that would have been impossible for larger AI-controlled vessels. Those ships moved in perfect, predictable mathematical curves. The Defiance moved like a drunken bumblebee, all chaos and impossibility. Plasma fire lanced through space where they should have been. The pirates' targeting AI couldn't comprehend manual piloting, couldn't predict human randomness. Return fire, Walker commanded. The railguns spoke. Primitive, yes. Effective, absolutely. Chunks of metal traveling at significant fractions of light speed slammed into the nearest pirate vessel. Its shields, designed to disperse energy weapons, were useless against pure kinetic force. The projectiles punched through its hull like bullets through paper. The pirates panicked. They were used to victims whose AI-dependent systems were easily disrupted. But the Defiance had no AI to confuse, no quantum systems to interfere with. It was mechanical brutality in its purest form. Missile tubes 1 through 12 fire, Walker ordered. Chemical rockets, the Confederacy had laughed. Too slow, they'd said. But the pirates' defensive systems, calibrated for energy weapons and quantum torpedoes, didn't recognize the ancient threat until it was too late. The missiles struck home, their primitive chemical explosives tearing through hulls with devastating efficiency. The second pirate ship tried to flee, engaging its hyperspace drive. But hyperspace calculations took time, even for an AI. Time it didn't have as the Defiance's point defense cannons, operated by humans who'd trained their entire lives for this moment, found their mark. The pirate vessel's engine core ruptured, leaving it drifting. The third ship surrendered. The entire engagement had lasted 4 minutes and 37 seconds. As the Defiance secured the surviving pirates and assisted the Vorthen transport, something unexpected happened. The transport's captain, once their systems were restored, transmitted everything to the Confederacy. Not just a report, but full sensor data of the entire battle. Within hours, that data had spread across the galactic network. The primitive humans, in their obsolete ship, had defeated 3 modern pirate vessels without taking a single hit. The Stellar Assembly reconvened in emergency session. "Explain," Zixtheta demanded simply. Walker stood before them again, but this time the atmosphere was different. No laughter, no condescension, just shock and, perhaps, a hint of fear. "You asked me to explain how we won," Walker said calmly. "The answer is simple. You've spent so long perfecting your way of fighting that you've forgotten there are other ways. Your AIs are brilliant, but they can only work with patterns they recognize. Your shields are impenetrable to energy weapons, but useless against simple projectiles. Your strategies are flawless but inflexible." Commander Vraktor stood. "You're saying our technological superiority is actually a weakness?" "I'm saying that when everyone has the same strength, it's not a strength anymore. It's just normal. We don't have AI, so we don't depend on them. We can't be hacked, confused, or predicted by them. We don't have energy shields, so we learn to armor ourselves against everything. We don't have quantum weapons, so we perfected the art of throwing rocks really, really hard." The assembly was silent. Finally, Ambassador Kaloran spoke. "The pirates you defeated were using stolen Krillian technology, military grade. That same equipment destroyed a Confederacy patrol ship last month." "Did that patrol ship have an AI?" Walker asked. "Of course. Then that's why they lost. The pirates knew exactly how to fight them. They didn't know how to fight us because nobody fights like us anymore. You've all forgotten that sometimes the best solution to a complicated problem is a simple hammer." Over the following weeks, more reports came in. Human vessels, despite their primitive technology, were proving remarkably effective against pirates and raiders. Not because they were superior, but because they were different, unpredictable, impossible for AI to model accurately. The Confederacy faced a dilemma. They'd spent millennia developing along the same technological path, each species building on the same fundamental assumptions: energy weapons, AI control, quantum mechanics. They'd created an arms race where everyone was running in the same direction. And then humanity showed up, walking calmly in the opposite direction, carrying a very big stick. A month after the pirate incident, Zixtheta summoned Walker for a private meeting. "Captain, we owe you an apology," the entity said, its crystalline form pulsing with what might have been embarrassment. "We misjudged your species' capabilities." "You judged us by your standards," Walker replied diplomatically. "It's a natural mistake. Natural but dangerous. We've received intelligence that several hostile species outside the Confederacy have taken interest in your unique approach to combat. They want to study it, replicate it." Walker raised an eyebrow. "And we would like to propose an exchange. We'll provide you with some of our technology if you'll teach us how to fight without it." Walker couldn't help but smile. "You want us to teach you how to be primitive? We want you to teach us how to be unpredictable. Our entire defensive strategy assumes enemies will fight like we do. You've shown us how vulnerable that makes us." Walker considered this, on one condition. "Name it. Remove the restrictions on human vessels. Let us patrol where we're needed, not where we're safe." Zixtheta's form flickered. "That would put your people at risk." "My people have been at risk since we first looked up at the stars and decided to go there. Risk doesn't scare us. Being underestimated and sidelined does." The entity was quiet for a long moment. "Agreed." As Walker returned to the Defiance, he found his crew watching the news feeds. The story of the primitive humans who'd saved a Vorthan transport was spreading across the galaxy. Military analysts were debating how it had happened. Some called it luck. Others suggested the humans had hidden technology. None of them understood the truth: that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology, but their stubborn refusal to accept that there was only one way to do things. "Orders, Captain?" Reeves asked as Walker entered the bridge. Walker settled into his command chair, its worn padding conforming to his shape after countless hours. "Set course for the frontier regions, Mr. Chen. It seems the Confederacy has finally realized that sometimes the old ways are the best ways. And if we run into trouble? Rodriguez asked. Walker grinned. Then we'll do what humans do best. We'll improvise, adapt, and hit them with something they never saw coming. As the Defiance turned toward the dangerous frontier of space, its crew ready for whatever came next, the galaxy watched with new respect. The laughingstock had become the wild card, the primitive ship that could defeat modern pirates, the humans who fought with their minds instead of their machines. The Confederacy had learned an important lesson. In a universe where everyone had evolved beyond simple solutions, sometimes the simplest solution was the most effective. And nobody did simple, stubborn, and unexpectedly brilliant quite like humanity. The HMS Defiance jumped to hyperspace, its manually calculated trajectory taking it toward new adventures. Behind them, the Confederacy's military academies were already adding a new course to their curriculum: asymmetric warfare and the human paradox, when primitive becomes powerful. The galaxy would never laugh at humanity again.